Hi everyone, it's Miss Terry and I'm here today to talk about my February picks for students in grades 4. We'll go through some of the fiction titles, then I have a selection of graphic novels, and then we'll do some nonfiction. So this first book I'm going to talk about today is called The In-Between by Rebecca Ks Anasari. And this is about a boy named Cooper, and Cooper's kind of been struggling. His dad has left the family about 3 years ago, and he's just kind of becoming distant from his friends. He's kind of trying to avoid his younger sister Jess, who's really kind of a pain in his butt. And there's this creepy girl that lives across the street. It's always staring at him and it's starting to really irritate him. Well, Jess has kind of become obsessed with this online mystery that she discovered, that a train accident had happened in their town many, many years ago, and a boy went missing and they never really discovered what happened to him. And one of the strange things about him was that he had this insignia on his jacket. And they don't really know what that insignia was or what it could possibly mean. And the reason that Jess has become kind of obsessed with this online mystery is that the girl across the street also has that insignia on her jacket. And now she's kind of roped her big brother Cooper into trying to figure out how this girl could possibly be related to that accident so many years ago, and how is she related to the missing boy. So that's called The In-Between. This next one is a choose your own adventure. It's called Could You Be an Extreme Rock Climber? And this is kind of a new take on the choose your own adventures. It's not so much can you survive so much as would you be able to make the decisions that real rock climbers face when they are trying to climb mountains. This one in particular has 30 different choices and 14 different endings. And you have a couple of different locations of places that you can try to climb, including one that takes place at night. So that's Could You Be an Extreme Rock Climber? This next one is called The Great Pet Heist, and this is by Emily Ecton. And this is about 5 pets whose owner, Mrs. Food, ends up having an accident and has to go to the hospital for a while. And the 5 pets are kind of left in this New York apartment. They do have a guardian, but they don't really like them very much. And so the pets decide that they need to become independently wealthy on their own so that they can take care of themselves. And they kind of go out into the apartments, kind of break in to see what they can find that would help them become wealthy. And one of the pets comes back with a rare coin. And so they've decided as a group that they're going to break into the coin man's apartment and steal the rest of his coins. And they're going to try to see if they can pull off this heist without getting caught. This is definitely on the silly side. The Last Bear is the story of a girl named April who has just gone to Bear Island in the frozen north to work with her scientist dad. Now, supposedly on Bear Island, all the bears are gone, but one day April sees kind of a wounded, hungry bear out in the wilderness, and she quickly befriends him and helps him gain his strength, and realizes that because of kind of warming climates that he's kind of stranded on the island and he can't get back to where the rest of his bear family lives, and she's decided that she is going to be the one to help him. So if you like stories about animals, you definitely will enjoy this. The Last Bear. This next one, Scritch Scratch, is definitely in the horror genre, so it's a little bit on the scary side, and it's about a girl named Claire. And Claire is kind of very science-minded. She doesn't really believe in all that paranormal stuff, but her dad is all in. He totally believes it, and he decides to quit his job and start a ghost tour company in Chicago. And one day he's in a bind, and he asks Claire to come along and help, and she discovers a ghost boy living on the bus. Well, this ghost boy wants Claire to help him, so he decides to start haunting her and following her around in the hopes that she can help solve the mystery of where he came from. Again, this is definitely on the scary side. He gets her attention in some spooky ways, but if you like scary books, if you like stories about ghosts, you will enjoy Scritch Scratch. The picture on there is a little bit on the creepy side too. This next one is called Lupe Wong Won't Dance, and Lupe wants to become the first female pitcher in the Major League Baseball, and she doesn't have a lot of patience for anything other than baseball, other than maybe watching Doctor Who on TV. And her favorite pitcher is coming to town, and she really would like to meet him, but her grandfather says you can't do that unless you have straight A's. And usually that's not a problem for her, but now gym class is requiring a square dancing unit, and Lupe is just mortified and thinks it's wrong that she should have to do this and is thinking that she should protest, but her grandpa is saying, nope, can't get out of it. You need to figure out how you're going to do this. So this is called Lupe Wong Won't Dance, and it's a story about a strong female character who wants to do things her way. This next one is also a little bit on the scary side. This one is called Embassy of the Dead, and this is about a boy named Jake, and he's 12 years old, and one day he meets this man called Pilkey, who is kind of this ghostly undertaker, and he mistakes Jake for a different human and ends up giving him this mysterious box. Well, Jake, he's kind of curious. He wants to know what's inside of it, and when he opens it up, he finds a severed finger that brings about a very deadly reaper who is determined to pull Jake into the underworld. Now, Jake is on the run almost really for his life with Pilkey and a couple of his friends in the hopes that they can reach the Embassy of the Dead to try to find some sanctuary. This is also a little bit on the gory side, so if you have a weak stomach, this is not for you. Totally opposite end of the scare factor. This one is called Royal Rescues, The Lost Puppy, and this is about Princess Bee, who absolutely adores animals, but there is a rule at the palace that she cannot have any pets, but that doesn't stop her from rescuing a small puppy in the garden one day, and she's determined to keep him a secret, which we all know never works out, so that she can find him a good home. And this is not going to be easy for her because a royal banquet is about to begin. So it's called Royal Rescues, The Lost Puppy. This next one is a part of the Girls Survive story. This one is called Leah Braves the Flood, and it's not your typical flood. This actually is a molasses flood. Leah is kind of tired of living in the crowded city of Boston. She's hoping that she's going to be able to head west, where maybe her prospects will be something other than getting married or working in a factory, when the molasses factory has an accident and a giant wave of molasses floods the city. And now Leah and her friend are trying to survive and hopefully not get lost in the molasses. Now, we're not talking like, oh, there's a splash on the street. We're talking a huge wave that really could flood the entire city. Very sticky, horrible, hot, burning mess. This next one is called The Hungry Place, and this is about Roland, who owns Highover Farm, and he has bred a pony named Princess, who is really his best pony ever, definitely champion material, and he has a girl that works on his farm named Ray, and Ray is not really sure Princess is the pony for her. She kind of likes a little bit more of a rowdy pony named Radish that she's hoping to be able to ride at camp when she goes for the summer. Well, Roland has a stroke and ends up having to go to the hospital, and Princess is kind of left on her own with the other horses, and she ends up at camp becoming a camp horse and gets paired with Ray. And Ray and Princess realize that maybe they were meant to be together, and when they end up back on Roland's farm, Roland is convinced that they should be partnered together as well. So if you like horror stories, you definitely will enjoy this one. This one is called The Hungry Place. So those are some of the fiction ones. Let's look at some graphic novels. This first one is a new graphic novel series based off of the My Weird School books. If you've read any of those, you might enjoy this one. This one is called Mr. Corbett Is in Orbit. Again, this is written in graphic novel format. And this is AJ and his friends have gone to the Space Museum. And their tour guide, Mr. Corbett, is kind of a space cadet. He's not always paying attention to what's going on. And AJ accidentally launches the entire class into space. And this is the story of their adventure. This next one is called Where Are You Leopold? And this is about a young boy named Leopold who discovers that he can refract light and turn invisible. Now, maybe someday he'll use those powers for good. For right now, though, he really wants to just play pranks on people and his sister. But his sister has ways of getting back at him as well. But this is the adventures of Leopold and Celine, who is his sister, who is constantly trying to get him in trouble. What would you do if you could turn invisible? Dolphin Girl is an unlikely superhero about a girl named Dolphin Girl who lives in Dearburbia, Michigan with her dad, Captain DeGong, and they are just about to start a pizza palace called Pizza Paradise, and they want to make the best pizza. And unfortunately, their rival has determined that he's going to destroy their dreams, and it's up to Dolphin Girl to stop him from doing that. Cat Kid Comic Club by Dave Pilkey is the author of Dogman. And in this adventure, Lil, Petey, Flippy, and Molly have decided that they're going to teach 21 baby frogs the art of graphic novels, of making comic books. Well, as you can imagine, 21 baby frogs are probably not the best students, and some hilarious stories start happening. Inside this book, there's also several mini comics, so stories inside of stories. But if you like Dogman, you probably will enjoy Cat Kid Comic Club. Grumpy Unicorn is a new graphic novel that's about a grumpy unicorn who is seriously bored with their life and wants to find some excitement. So he decides to go out on the road and see the world's sights, and he meets up with some friends who are going to tag along with him. I think my favorite scene in this whole book, here he is at the Witness the Eternal Flame. You can see it. The eternal flame is supposed to be burning forever. Eternal means it burns forever. And then he has a massive sneeze and he ends up blowing out the eternal flame. It's definitely on the funny side. Grumpy Unicorn. There is also another series of graphic novels that are new that are some of the Disney movies retold. Right now we have Disney Frozen, told in the graphic novel format, but I also have The Little Mermaid. So I don't have The Little Mermaid on the form, but if you're interested in that one, you can put it down at the bottom if you want to request that one. This next one is called The Ghost Emperor's New Clothes. And this is a story about the emperor. Remember him? He got tricked by some tailors into going out naked without any clothes on. Well, now he wants his revenge, and two ghost hunters have decided to stop him. So that is Ghost Emperor's New Clothes, again, written in graphic novel format. So those are the graphic novels. Let's look at some of the nonfiction. This first one is a new one called The Definitive Guide to Fortnite 2020. If you're a huge Fortnite player and you're interested in learning more about the game and also some tips and tricks on how to play better, you might enjoy this one. This next one is in the horror genre. This one is called Popper the Poltergeist. And in February of 1958, the Herman family began to experience strange events in their home. At first, it was just kind of harmless stuff like caps popping off bottles, but soon things like dishes were being smashed, bookshelves were being toppled over, and objects were being moved. And they believed that they had a poltergeist named Popper living in their house. And this is their story based on true accounts of what happened to this family. This next one, while it's not a graphic novel, it's written in a very graphic way with lots of great pictures and tidbits. This one is Everything Awesome About Sharks and Other Underwater Creatures, though it focuses mainly on sharks. And it looks at even early sharks, including the megalodon that possibly could have grown as long as 80 feet, which is very, very large. So if you really like sharks, really interested in the ocean, this is a really fun way to learn more about that topic. This next one is called 50 Animals That Have Been to Space, and it literally counts down the 50 animals that have been to space. It does have a really interesting story about these two dogs that had gone into space, and it was kind of a top secret military mission. And once the rocket came back, they had 60 hours to rescue the dogs before it would explode. It was kind of like to make sure that enemy hands couldn't get it, they were gonna just explode it. So the scientists had to find the rocket and get the dogs out before it did that, and they ended up in a horrible climate. It was like waist deep snow, negative 45 degrees, trying to rescue these dogs, but they were successful. So this book is full of stories like that. This next one is about a photographer named Susie, I'm gonna probably say her name wrong, Esterhaz. And this is what it is like to be a wildlife photographer. And she talks all about her adventures, some of the kind of scary situations she was in trying to get the perfect shot. One of the stories I really enjoy is that she was trying to take pictures of swimming sloths, and in order to do that, she decided to practice in a swimming pool. You can see the teddy bear in the top photo was her model, and she was trying to figure out the best way to get the photographs that she needed before she went and swam with the sloths, which is kind of a funny thought. I don't really think I really was ever pictured sloths swimming, but this is a really interesting look, not only at the animals that she took photos of, but also what it might be like to be that kind of photographer. These next two are kind of oversized. I'm going to hold them back a little bit. This one is called Marvelous Magicians. I know many of you have probably heard of Harry Houdini, but there are a lot of other magicians throughout history, including back to the very first magician that was recorded, where people actually wrote down the story of seeing a magician back in ancient Egypt, where the magician cut off the head of a chicken and then magically put it back on. So this talks about some of the historical magicians, and then it also talks specifically about their tricks and what kind of things that they were known for throughout time. And it's a really fun book. It has a lot of really great pictures. You can see there's like fold out pages and all of that kind of stuff. So that is called Marvelous Magicians. And if you're really into magic, next week we will be, oh, not next week, in 2 weeks we have a screen break that's all going to be about learning some magic. 2 weeks, not next week. And then this one is the last one I'm going to talk about. This one is called Life in a Frozen World, and it talks about wildlife of Antarctica. I did mark a page here that was talking about the fact that even though no trees grow on Antarctica, underneath the water there is a huge amount of algae forests that are really important to the ecosystem of Antarctica and the animals that live there. So if you've always wondered what could live down in such harsh climates, this book talks all about that, including the fact that Antarctica is declared kind of a sanctuary for scientists and for peaceful purposes only, and most of the countries in the world have signed an agreement that says they're not going to mess with it. It also talks a little bit about climate change and what is happening to Antarctica and why we should be worried about it. So that's called Life in a Frozen World. Beautiful, beautiful illustrations in this book as well. So we hope you enjoy these selections.